one of my favorite amps in the world is the Diesel VH4.
Okay, yeah.
I bought one in 2004, and it's still one of my favorite amps. It's sadly it's too big for this studio, and I have limited space, and I have other stuff going on here. So, but it's an amazing amp because it has this sort of like especially channel 3 is absolutely, it's the best like rock and even metal tone you can get from an amp, because it has this fullness to it that not many amps have, especially in the lower mids, and it is like it has almost become some sort of signature sound where other people try to kind of adopt this and use it for themselves, and nobody has ever come close.
Okay.
And so Adam Jones from Tool is a longtime VH4 user. I mean, he also uses like Plexi Marshalls and like 100 watt no master volume Marshalls and stuff like that. But he also used like the very early Blueface VH4s. And Adam Jones also has a very specific tone. It's not like there's something to his tone that is kind of unique in comparison. It fits the sound of the band very well, but it's also something you don't hear other bands doing. And I remember Peter Diesel telling me that they went to NAMM show I can't remember what year it was, and then they were meeting up with Adam Jones, and he was like, "Hey, can you take a look at my amp?" Because they were taking a look at it, and they found that some of the stuff inside was not working at all, and there was like a lot of defects actually within the amplifier that made it sound that way, and he actually never noticed. It was like was always, it sounded great, and he blended the sound with his Marshalls, and it was great to him. And then Peter told him, "Yeah, we need to repair a couple of things, and do you notice that it sounds this way or the other way?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's supposed to sound that way." "No, it's actually not supposed to." He said, "Don't change anything. If something's really broken, repair it, but don't change the sound. It's gonna be terrible."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's kind of weird how you think about like the more old school approach to tone. Like today, we're using like the same IRs, we're using like very same audio interfaces and all that. But when you think about like the more old school guitar approach,
yeah,
there's a lot of using things the wrong way, pairing things the wrong way, and all these things end up creating a sound that's completely unique. And I don't know that this is kind of like my way of looking at it, but sometimes I fear that because we're like too technical now, we might be missing out on finding stuff like that, stuff that wasn't meant to work this way, but we're using it wrong and it's creating something completely unique and cool.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%.
Like you think of Tom Scholz from the band Boston.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this guy,
Good
man,
example.
He's got like signature guitar sound from the 1980s. And so many people were trying to wrap their heads around how did he achieve this?
Yeah.
Well, one, you need to be an engineer like him. Like he worked for Polaroid for many years, worked on cameras and all this stuff. So this guy's building his own gear in his basement, right? So if he can afford to buy it, he would make his own. So then you're there in the 1980s trying to figure out like how do you get the Boston guitar sound? Well, good luck with that because it's complex. You know, there's compression on top of compression and chorusing, and sometimes there's like a blend of this and that. And when you think about it, you go, okay, this guy wasn't by accident. It was intentional.
Yeah.
And then you look at a guy like, let's say, Brian May from Queen. You got a homemade guitar, right? Him and his dad make this guitar, and then he gets himself a treble booster, puts it in a cranked up 1960s Vox CC30, and he has a completely unique sound than most people. And
nobody
it's not
sounds
an accident.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Nobody sounds like him. He strikes a chord, or he like bends a note, and you know exactly it's Brian May.
Yeah. And it's not like all the small things. It's the combination of everything this guy does that makes him sound like him. And that's the other part too of this equation. Like you were talking about Adam Jones having an amp that's not functioning the way it functions, but then he has like his own way of dialing in because of his ears. Like he dials it in, he hears the sound, and he's like, that's the sound I want. And then if we talk about the bass sound from Tool, that's also another killer sound that sounds like nothing else.
Yeah.
You hear that sound, you go, that's Tool. Like right away, you know it's them, right?
Yeah. And it's like every time a song from Tool would begin with a bass intro, it's like I'm getting goosebumps because it's like it's such a the sound is huge. It's absolutely huge, but it also always fits within the mix. You know?
Yeah.
It's not overwhelming. These guys really, but they also work with great engineers and it's amazing. Another guy that I could mention who has a complete unique tone, whatever gear he uses, he always sounds like himself, is it's actually my favorite guitar player is Ty Tabor from the band King's X.
Yep.
This guy has used so many different things. He started out using the Lab Series amps from Norlin or Gibson back then.
Yeah, the Gibson stuff, yeah.
Yeah, the one that, the amplifier that actually Bob Moog designed for Norlin.
Yep.
He was hired to design these amps. And there are not a lot of people who can make these amps sound good. They're actually kind of crappy sounding, and you have to find the right setting that works for you or that doesn't work for it. I've seen 3 or 4 people sounding great to it, and Ty Tabor is one of them. But then at some point, he also started using rectifiers, and he started using the rectifier preamps with the power amps, and he had a couple of like rack things. Then around the 2000s, when he got the endorsement deal with Yamaha, and he had his Yamaha signature guitar, he also started using do you remember the Yamaha amps with the motorized potentiometers? The DG amps?
Yeah, it rings a bell. I'm not certain, but yeah, I think I've heard about those, yeah.
Almost kind of ruby violet front panel.
Okay.
And there was like a 130 watt head, and it was completely MIDI switchable, and you had motorized pots. So the setting, absolutely terrible for someone who has to deal with it on the technical side. So let's say you have to repair this thing, you need to find the motorized potentiometer that actually works with it. So he used those. Then at some point he started using like some lighter stuff, like the modeling stuff and whatnot, and the XFX. And it doesn't matter what, now he uses orange amps. It doesn't matter what he uses. He always sounds like himself because he has like a distinctive way to touch the guitar to like, strike a chord. It just, it's him. It's him.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are only a few guys that have this sort of capability to sound like themselves and be recognizable.